Mr. Speaker, while the enactment of a legislation to regulate the real estate business is welcome and is necessary, the present bill before this House fails to take into consideration the present ecosystem in which our real estate counterparties operate. While introducing a novel piece of legislation, government should take cognizance of the current economic climate and challenges. Government needs to be fair and ensure that the interests of all parties are catered for and no injustice is created. The rationale behind the enactment of this bill should be to create a legal framework in which real estate agents, property developer, land promoter operate in order to avoid abuse of buyers and sellers, for government to have an oversight of the conduct of real estate business, as well as ensuring that this sector is not used and exploited as a tremplin for money laundering activities. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, at the outset, this bill is flawed in its definition of real estate agent, and I will explain. It treats a real estate agent, a land promoter, and a property developer on the same footing. As I said, our present local ecosystem, a real estate agent is a courtier. And I won't use the word courtier maro, because for me, it's not proper. It's not proper to say courtier maro. Courtier is usually an individual. And this has been the case for decades. So I will explain again that real estate agent in our local context is a courtier. A land promoter here, we are referring to the likes of AADIL Properties, Novatera, etc. These are examples. And a property developer, examples are Pam Golding, Evaco, and so on. We must clearly differentiate between a land promoter, between a property developer, and a real estate agent. To my opinion, by treating them on the same footing is a fundamental error because they play different roles. If we do not differentiate among these counterparties, we will create an unjust and unwanted burden on certain players. It is important to understand that a courtier does not handle any funds linked to the sale and purchase of a property, while a property developer and a land promoter would deal and receive funds either for the sale or the purchase of a land, a luxury villa, be it from a local, from a Mauritian, or from a foreigner. It could be to the tune of 10 million, 50 million, 100 million. We must compare like with like, Mr. Speaker. There are, as I said, land promoter and property developer. They are the one who should bear the higher level of responsibility and scrutiny compared to a mere real estate agent in the Mauritian context, as I said, a courtier. For me, it is an injustice to treat these three categories sur le même pied d'égalité. Hence, the requirement for registration as real estate agent in terms of qualifications, experience, security to be furnished, disciplinary actions, and even the duty to comply with AML CFT measures should be commensurate with the role of the different actors. By this, I again refer to real estate agents, property developer, and land promoter. There is a need to differentiate between the various types of players in the market. In jurisdictions like New Zealand, and Malaysia. For example, the property market operates in a well-regulated yet extremely competitive environment. But the law in these countries differentiate between different players of the industry. Courtiers are usually known as negotiators rather than agents. They are regulated, albeit with a much lower threshold, and rightly so. The Honourable Minister acknowledges that there are various players, but with the present bill, it is a blanket provision capturing all in the same way. This bill, Mr. Speaker, this bill before the House regroups everyone under one umbrella. The point I want to make to the House today is that this must be reviewed, Mr. Speaker. I will deal from clauses 1 to 21, and the rest, that is the AML CFT clauses, will be dealt by my friend, Honourable Reza Utim, when he intervenes. In addition to the point I just raised, I have several reservations regarding other provisions of the bill. First of all, Mr. Speaker, let me refer to paragraph 8(1)(a) of the bill, which concerns the appointment of a chairman, of a chairperson of the board by the minister. We are of the view that for such an important post, the ministry concerned cannot, in his discretion, appoint such a person, and should, in terms of best practice and good governance, are so often prone by government, proceed by appel de candidature. The chairperson cannot be appointed by the minister. As I said, best practices means appel de candidature. This is crucial to ensure transparency regarding recruitment of the potential chairperson. In the same breath, the best qualified candidates having the required experience and expertise will have the opportunity to apply for the post, and eventually the chosen chairperson will serve the ministry and the Mauritian public. The chairperson should operate in all independence and transparency to deliver in the best interest of the ministry and by extension the public at large. And it should not be at all cost a political nominee. That's why I put emphasis on appel de candidature. Why I mentioned that it should not be a political nominee? Because this piece of legislation aims at consolidating our AML CFT framework. Mr. Speaker, sir, regarding the appointment of the board members, I would like to refer to paragraph 8(1) I, J, and K. I fail to understand why a representative of the Land Surveyors Council, according to the provisions of the bill, will be chosen by the said council. Will be chosen by the said council to defend its interest, whilst representative of the Real Estate Association and representative of Chambre de Notaire will be chosen by the minister. What is the rationale behind this, Mr. Speaker? How can representative of land surveyor choose their own representative and the other one that I've just mentioned be chosen by the minister? This is totally unacceptable, and we strongly object to this disparity. These bodies are independent bodies and hence should be free to choose their representative. We fail to understand such incoherence regarding representation of professionals on a board unless the minister wants to have a grip on the board. We press for a more professional approach regarding the appointment of board members who can take decisions in all impartiality and independence. The Speaker, sir, I now refer to paragraph 16(3) bracket A. The bill proposes to establish a real estate agents authority. In this recommendation, if this recommendation is approved in its present form, Henceforth, it will be mandatory for all state agents to be registered with the authority. Furthermore, it is stipulated that it will be necessary for any real estate agent to hold a diploma in real estate or such other qualification as the board may approve. Mr. Speaker, sir, presently the large majority of real estate agents are persons not holding any qualifications. Here I am referring to the Kuche, and we should bear in mind that they rely on this income as means of livelihood. Is the Minister aware that there are no such courses available in Mauritius? There are 4 public universities: University of Mauritius, University of Technology, University de Mascaret and Open University, and 45 private institutions. Mr. Speaker, none of these that I've just mentioned offer this course. The diploma in land management does not exist in Mauritius. And after passing this bill, which will be mandatory, what does this mean, Mr. Speaker? What does this mean? We all know that this will kill all the small players and will favor only the big guns, Mr. Speaker. This is the reason. The course can only be done either through online by distance mode or by going directly to the universities or institutions concerned, either in England, Canada, Malaysia, or Australia. But such courses will be very costly. Therefore, if a Mauritian wants to study in one of the local institutions or university, this is simply not possible. How can government impose a mandatory requirement when such courses does not even exist in Mauritius, Mr. Speaker? I think before coming to the House with such bill, some homework should have been done in relation to this clause, Mr. Speaker. So what will happen to real estate agents who do not hold such a diploma? Now, the bill makes reference to such other qualification as the board may approve. What is such other qualification? Who will fall in this category? The bill should clearly spell out what would satisfy this requirement. What is such other qualification? It's a wide meaning. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, sir, many of our citizens have been working as real estate agents for years, not to say for decades. They are already recognized as practitioners in the field and have their trade license. They are currently paying their dues to the MOA, be it VAT, be it income tax. So we are currently being recognized by the system. I am tempted to say that the bill in its present form tends to favor existing big guns. By this I mean international estate agents who are present in Mauritius, who currently have or have the ability to recruit and employ professionals with such qualification from overseas. This tantamounts to favoring existing big players to the difference of local and small and medium-sized real estate agents. Moreover, according to the proposed bill, for real estate agent to satisfy the requirement of the board, he or she should have at least 5 years experience in matters of real estate transactions. But here again, Mr. Speaker, no criteria is mentioned. How do we determine competencies and skill? Who will assess 5 years of experience? Nothing is defined in the bill in relation to what I've just said. Mr. Speaker, I now come to paragraph 17, clause 17, section 1, 2, and 3. The bill states that, I quote, "No person shall be registered as a real estate agent unless he furnishes security in such amount as may be prescribed. The security is defined in subsection 2 as cash deposited, bond with a bank, policy insurance, or mortgage on immovable property." However, the amount of security, be it cash, deposit, insurance, bond, or insurance, is not specified in the bill. Again, Mr. Speaker, we cannot leave it at the discretion of the minister, because if such an amount turns out to be too excessive, only the big guns, the big players who can afford, will be again favored at the expense of small ones and medium ones in the profession. No mention is being made to the amount of security, as I said, bond, cash, or mortgage. In my opinion, the bill should have provided for the quantum of security, and this should be scalable and linked to the role played in a real estate transaction. That is, for example, a land promoter, a property developer, or an agent. And here I come back to my original point. Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of the shortcomings and oversights I have just highlighted, we recommend more flexibility. We recommend more flexibility regarding the new set of requirements for registration. It is necessary to mention we are trying to get over the trauma of COVID-19 period. Companies are closing down. Many workers have to bear the brunt of technical unemployment. The shadow of layoffs hangs over other firms. Our economy is suffering a period of recession affecting our GDP significantly. In these challenging times, notwithstanding that we should regulate this sector, we should also look at securing and preserving the livelihood of our fellow citizens. Hence, the legislation should allow for more flexibility in its application. For example, giving more time for existing real estate agents to meet the requirements imposed by this bill, such as meeting the requirement of qualification for admission. Or else, Mr. Speaker, sir, I fear that a significant amount of people operating in the real estate business may be adversely affected financially. And it goes without saying that the big players will have the lion's share of the transaction. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, to conclude, I sincerely wish that the Honourable Minister will pay heed to my comments and propose necessary amendments before this bill is commended to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.